Hello and welcome to this panel discussion by Digina. Today, where we deep dive into the NEET PG 2025 examination. So today we are going to discuss the ranks, its surprises, and what to expect, and the students' feedback. And today we are joined by our top medical faculties from India. Joining us today are our expert faculty who have mentored thousands of students and shaped their future. So let's begin with their journey and the kind of students they have mentored. So let's start with Dr. Archith Boloor.
Hello students, this is Dr. Archith Boloor, your Faculty of Medicine of Digina. And yes, it's been 17 years that I've been associated with the field of medicine and interacting with students. Wide change of aptitude in students have happened from the so-called very much studious clinics going students to the app-based students now. However, the end result, the exam oriented, the seriousness for the subject still remains the same.
So that's same for Dr. Anshuman also. So what kind of students you mentor?
So, hi students, I'm Dr. Anshuman Pancholi. I'm your surgery faculty for Digina. I have been teaching students since last 7 years. And yes, there has been a transition in the approach of students towards surgery. So basically, earlier it used to be more towards, diagnosing conditions clinically, learning, trying to learn things more clinically. Now, obviously, since there's a PPD fever, which is there, obviously the students are more oriented and wanting to learn from the perspective of getting the questions right, which partly is harming the learning, but I think that's what is the norm. So that's how the students are more interested in learning these days.
Thank you, sir. So that same for Dr. Roshni. So is there same thing that you feel, or what kind of students you basically mentor, right from your hospital to the digital?
Okay, hi everyone. Myself Dr. Roshini, your faculty at DigiNerve. So, like last 10 years, I've been mentoring a medical college. So, I've seen students when they're intern, when they're preparing for a PG and post PG, even a second year and third year students. Now, everybody is oriented for their PG preparation only. So, everybody is just wanting to get some PG seat. I know maybe now MBBS doctors also are not much in clinical practice. So, everybody wants a PG seat. That is how they are going on. But yeah, in some way it is good, in some way it is still harming.
Okay. So that's same for you, Dr. Madhu.
Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Madhu Choudhary, your pathology faculty at Digital. See, my journey has not been a very long journey, but I can still say that students, genuine students who want to pass, who want to study, still remain the same. I would not categorize them into average, below average, or above average. The students who want to learn, this passion, they are passionate, they will remain the same. And as a teacher, how we can influence them, how we can make them understand, that is more important. Exam to pass karna hi hai, but it is the role that we play in their lives. It is very important.
So yes, at the end we all learn from
Our teachers only.
yes. So that does make a difference. So next if I have to ask, if you had to describe this year's NEET PG exam in one word, what would it be and why?
So I think this time it has been delayed as usual. So the delay goes on and on.
It happens
Then
every year, sir.
multiple things happened with this time's exam. But for the good part of it, possibly it happened in one session.
Yes.
So that's something which is maybe it gives a lot of confidence to the students that there are no multiple sessions. So one session exam, that's big.
So what do you want to say, sir?
If you're asking in one word, I would just call it image based. That's what. So, apart from this clinical learning, if you really are not acquainted with image based learning, this rotely reading notes is not going to help. That was just has come out of this examination. And this trend will continue on here forth because usually what happens, students are more focused on getting the facts correctly. But in this rush for gaining facts, usually they miss out on the images that are given.
Yes.
And that is where the entire focus is now shifted toward. So if you look at the entire quota of 400 questions that were there, we must have had around 100 plus questions, image-based questions. You have such a heavy weightage on the images, the learning also has to change. So it has to change not only from the perspective of the textbook learning, also from the clinical learning and on the postings that the students are going. So unless and until you are seeing those cases, it is very difficult to just look at those cases in the textbooks and then learn it by.
So that's why clinics helps
Yeah,
for you to
absolutely.
get the knowledge of the images that's been asked for your exam. So what would you like to say, Dr. Roshni?
So this exam, I feel it was more balanced compared to the 2024. This was more balanced. There were easy questions, moderate questions, and slightly difficult. I say slightly difficult was less, but more of easy to moderate kind of questions. But there it was a balanced exam. They had questions which they could answer, and everybody could answer. I feel even an intern, post intern could also answer these questions. So it was a balanced exam, focusing on basically the knowledge was focused.
One word for NEET PG, Dr. Madhu.
Well, it's finally over. After all this speculation, single shift hoga, double shift hoga, last minute delays, it's finally over. Right now, sitting here, we can say the paper was easy, but all the students who were sitting there giving the exams, the environment in which they were sitting with all the mental stress, I know it wasn't that easy, but still the paper was moderate to easy.
So those 3 hours mattered.
Yeah, those 3 years mattered. Your presence of mind, your thorough revisions, how many times you had revised the topics, most important, the previous year topics, how many times you had revised that. The paper wasn't that very difficult as compared to when compared to the last year's paper. But still, if you had revised your previous year topics, you had studied your textbooks, you had seen all the lectures, you had attended all your clinics, your classes, I'm sure you would crack the exam.
So that's what we all want. Like after all these learnings and 1 year of their hard work should pay off. So, how would you rate the paper on the scale of 1 to 10 in terms of clinical? How was like in 1 to 10?
So for medicine, I believe this was possibly the easiest paper that came in the last maybe 5 to 6 years. The topic coverage wise, I thought it covered most of the topics. However, there was a little undue weightage to certain portions, like cardiology. There was a lot of repeats related to arrhythmia that has come. For the difficulty level, I would definitely rate it as less than 5 out of 10. And for the preparation purpose and the topic coverage purpose, maybe I would give it 6 out of 10. It was not actually a really tough paper. Clinical oriented, yes. Unfortunately, what is being found is that you give the diagnosis and then ask a question. That is something which has happened this time. There is no diagnosis asked. They give the diagnosis and ask a question for management. So that's not a very, what was the trend like? We would want a diagnosis. So this time's medicine questions had the diagnosis given and then asked maybe on management. So maybe that part also I would grade it as 5 on 10.
Okay, sir. So, how much you would rate it out of 1 to 10, Dr. Anshuman, on the basis of integration with other subjects?
Integration with other subjects, 7 maybe, not more than that. Mainly, it's not even about integration. It's actually about the way the questions were asked this time. They just flatly gave images and they expected the answer based on the images directly. The clinical STEM was very less in the questions. So when you have questions like that, the concept of integration slowly goes away. Yes, you know the image, you get the answer right. You don't know the image, you don't get the answer right. So for example, I'll give you a question. So there was a question on phimosis, which is actually not recalled properly. So there was confusion whether there was a sclerotic ring which was present above the penis or not. So either you have seen it or you have not seen it. It's not really about how much you know behind this subject. Yes. So that's what I'm saying. So 7 on the difficulty level 7 because of those limits. Otherwise, it was easy.
Okay. So, how much would you rate Dr. Roshni on terms of like clinical orientation and integration with other subjects also?
Okay. So, as such, the OBG paper was, as I told, it was easy to moderate. It only depends on the concept. If you knew the concept, you could answer the question. And many things were like they had given question describing the full procedure, and they also gave a image also of the procedure. So both were there. So either you have seen an image or you learned about the procedure, you could answer. I mean, there were so many clues to get back to your answer. And options were also not so tricky this time. So I think they felt it little easy to moderate only, and whatever students I reviewed, everybody gave me the same opinion. There were more image-based questions. Clinical means they gave a clinical question. The no doubt they didn't give. They gave a clinical, but they also gave an image. Either of the way they could answer the question. So it was a little clinically clear.
How much
Out of
would you?
10, I will give. Clinically, it was there 7.5 to 8, maybe 8. It was there, but the difficulty level also the same, and integration was less actually. Okay. Not much integrated with any other subject.
How much would you rate Dr. Madhu on the basis of integration, overall balanced if the exam was like
See,
out of
if
10?
if you see the pathology questions, I would say 50-50. 50 of them were clinically, 50% of them were clinically integrated, but 50% of them was straightforward question. You were given a slide, identify it, and then that's it. So even if you see pathology, there should be a lot of images, but there were hardly like 50% of the question only had images. So I would just say 50% were clinically oriented pathology questions.
Thank you so much. Sir, compared to last 2 years, so do you think this year exam was tougher, easier, or on par according to last 2 years?
Definitely easier, much easier compared to what was last 2 years. But yes, as we said, we were expecting images to be increased. Especially, we were thinking the ECG questions. There are so many ECG questions, but the ECG images were not up to the mark there. They gave the diagnosis based on the stem itself. So the image-based questions definitely decreased. The difficulty level definitely much lesser than the last 2 years. So
Same question for you, Dr. Anshuman.
See, it's from the faculty perspective, we usually feel the questions to be easy on paper. When you look at from the student perspective, when you have image-based question where the input send is less, and if you have more of a spotter-based question, too. Whenever there is something which is spot diagnosis-based, it gets tricky. It's not something that you can reach, at least from the surgery perspective, I can say that it's not easy to reach to a diagnosis immediately unless and until you have understood that concept properly and then you look at an image and by do. So, yeah, maybe it's slightly easy from EPG credible, but I'd still add the word tricky to it. It's not a straightforward EV.
So, Dr. Roshni, what do you have to say about it?
Okay, as everybody is saying, or even the students, everybody is saying was a easy paper, easy paper. But I think from OBG's point of view, it was easy plus tricky, and you can consider as moderate. There were questions, but then something like maybe you will have doubt between two answers like that. That was not directly yes, this is the answer, but there were questions where you have a doubt between two answers or so, and there was little like. They had given a diagnosis, maybe a little more point on clinical stand, then they could easily get to the answer. So those points were missing from that. It was comparatively easy, but I'd say compared to the OA paper, but yes, it was easy to moderate.
So, what do you want to say about this, Dr. Madhu?
Definitely, this was an easier paper as compared to last year. But last year, let's not rule out that thing that it was in two shifts. That was more difficult for the students, more challenging for the students, especially the students who gave the paper in the second shift. First shift was slightly better, but second shift was more difficult. But as compared to the last year's two papers, this paper was definitely easy. If I say for pathology point of view, there was nothing outside that what we taught or what you had read in your standard textbooks. So everything was there in the books. Now, there was no new research asked, there was no recent update that was asked. Everything was straightforward right from your books and from our lectures.
Can you walk us through the overall feel of your subject in this year's paper? What was the focus and what surprised you, Dr. Archith?
okay, as I already told you, the question pattern which was present, I think there were almost around 30 straightforward medicine questions. If I consider integration was there, almost 48 questions come into the realm of medicine. What I felt for medicine, the images were lacking, both the clinical images as well as ECG. I think in radiology, some correlative images were there. One system which was possibly important and not covered that much was respiratory. I think they had only one question from that entire system. In cardiology also, it was very selectively going only to the arrhythmia part. So atrial fibrillation, atrial flutter and atrial fibrillation again. There were questions on that also. Endocrine did have a good weightage which was expected. But again, the very standard questions only were asked. I think only one drug, which was a recent drug, which is a new drug, which was asked. Otherwise, all the drugs which were asked were all straightforward from the traditional drugs only. The other important part, which possibly maybe a little tricky part, not so very tricky, was wherever there is a doubt between two options which were there. I think there was a question where some granuloma was mentioned, caseating, non-caseating. So there was a lot of questions whether it is caseating, it becomes tuberculosis, non-caseating becomes sarcoidosis. So that a little tricky. I would actually would want to know what the question was. Only then the answer would come for that. The other point was management was asked. Of this 28 questions, nearly 15 questions were on management. And some part maybe like once we see CKD patient with anemia, we think it is erythropoietin that has to be given and such things have to be given. But here was a clinical scenario whether the patient had a severe anemia, they said. So when a patient has severe anemia and heart failure, it's not about erythropoietin which will work. We have to treat the blood, maybe possibly blood transfusion is needed. So it was little tricky on that part for that, but it was practically oriented in that way. The other important point was, yes, it covered almost all the the previously important questions which we see, especially the ABG sessions. We had, I think, 3 questions coming from ABG part of it. Again, was straightforward. They were nothing very complicated. They were absolutely straightforward questions. Infectious diseases did have its good coverage. Both tuberculosis and HIV had its coverage. And the nutrition, especially the vitamins, as usual, had its specific quota of 2 or 3 questions on vitamins were asked. GIT, maybe 1 or 2 questions only. So there the hepatology part also was not so much covered. Toxicology part was not very much covered. And what has come up, and then if you see the CBME curriculum, geriatrics has been given so much of importance, and we hardly had any questions on geriatrics. So there was a little discontinuity which I felt, though the important topics did have weightage. I can't say out of 200 questions, medicine should get 60 questions. But still, I felt the arrhythmia part, I think they could have been more clinically oriented. The image could have been given rather than just sticking on to management. So that is something which is good in a way where they have asked management and the next step, but still it could have been a diagnostic part of it, could have been added. Majority of the cases or the majority of the STEM questions had the diagnosis written. So that was not difficult part of it. So that's the medicine summary that I would want to say.
So it has been changed from previous years, as in more clinical used to be asked, and now it is basically just a management or straightforward questions.
Yeah. The questions, though look like clinical questions, they were not actually a complete clinical question. They would reveal the diagnosis themselves. So which was maybe a little not what
Easiest part.
expected.
Yes. So, would you walk us through the surgery, Dr. Anshuman?
So from the surgery perspective, when we actually consider, in general, also when we talk about previous year topics, so we generally talk about 7 to 8 years of law. And out of that also, when we talk about one particular area, suppose you're talking about breast surgery, you're talking about thyroid, so there are certain areas which are very frequently asked. So when you talk about PYTs include a hell lot of a list of PYTs.
Yes.
And it's difficult for the student to revise all those PYTs immediately before the exam. So what they did this time was, they asked the lesser frequent. Yeah, they were PYT, right? They were there. Everything was there in the notes. So there were hardly any question which was like completely out of the blue. There were no question which was out of the blue. But like for example, in surgery, we had 2 or 3 questions from neurosurgery. So from the last few years, there were no questions from neurosurgery. Right? They were from GUT, they were from GIT, they were from breast. Breast also had 1 question this time, but they were lesser frequently asked areas. So that's where the students actually struggled. It's not easy to immediately recall something that you have not read from the last 10, 15 days, something that you read long back. So that part was difficult from the perspective of surgery. Otherwise, it was a repeat of that. Okay.
Thank you, sir. So, how was OBS Gynae this year, ma'am? Like, where was the focus of the exam, and what was new to you that this hasn't been asked? And okay, so this was in this examination.
Okay, coming to Obs Gynae, as I told multiple times before also, though it was a easy paper, like if you had worked in your internship or you had done your clinical postings, definitely you could have answered. And also it was not like that, okay, direct questions are asked. I'm very surprised, sir told they didn't ask diagnosis, but in Obs there were more of diagnosing questions, like what is your diagnosis or what you will do next. Like they're not given the diagnosis to get to your diagnosis, what should you do? That was more focus. It was their clinical questions, but the problem was to get to your diagnosis. They give a clear picture of everything. Like they say completely cord prolapse is there, or where they said many things they gave, and they gave images also. Okay, they, out of usually OBS gets around 20-25 questions. This time also we had 23 to 25 questions. But the thing is, out of 25, almost 15 had images. Some was irrelevant also. They did not require. They already described it in the question in the STEM, but still they gave. But maybe to make yourself easy for your exam or for you to recall, but they gave. They made sure that you somehow get to the answer with two tricky options. but nothing was much surprising. It was routinely asked, and also they focused on all the major topics. All the high yield topics that we said had a question. Definitely, out of there was no repetition, like same questions from same chapter, 2 3 questions. Not like that. Every chapter, like there was a question on PPS, there was a question on ectopic, there was question on Cassius. And yeah, the postmenopausal bleeding had some 2 questions. That's all. There was no repetitions. Also, it was pretty good. No, so bad.
How was pathology, Dr. Madhu?
Pathology, we got almost 22 questions directly from pathology, medicine integration, physiology integration. I'm sure there would have been more, but 22 questions directly from pathology. But surprisingly, this year, usually they get 50% hematology in pathology. But this year, the hematology portion was a little less and systemic portion more. Hematology also, there was no question on anemia, direct question on anemia. Only for one question, hereditary spherocytosis. Otherwise, all questions were from molecular pathogenesis of lymphomas, the CD markers, the molecular pathogenesis, and platelets also. They had a single question this time. But systemic, surprisingly, they had asked 2 questions from CNS. Very surprisingly. We hardly get any questions from CNS. Although they were very straightforward question, they had given the histopathological hallmark findings. They had given Antony A, Antony B areas, Verroque bodies. Direct answer was schwannoma. Wet keratin, histopathology, direct answer craniopharyngioma. But there were 2 questions. And to answer Dr. Boloor's question, that granuloma question, it was non-caseating granuloma plus stellate body. So it was definitely sarcoidosis. So even the options were very clear. Sarcoidosis, tuberculosis, lung cancer, and one more probably the option. So the answer was also very clear cut. It is sarcoidosis. It's a non-caseating granuloma, cancer mein nahi hoga. There was one more option. So the direct answer was sarcoidosis. I guess the questions were straightforward. One important point was 3 or 4 repeats were there from the recent July FMG exam. 3 or 4 question direct repeats were there. That was surprising.
Thank you so much, Dr. Madhu. So, what were the most scoring areas in your subject that well-prepared students could crack easily? If someone wants, like, they have prepared that area very well, so they would have cracked easily.
So I think from the last few years, what we have also been doing through DigiNerve also is concentrating on these areas, especially the ECGs and the ABGs. I think that had at least around 8 questions coming from that portion. Though the questions were not very difficult, but yes, they came from that portion. Also endocrinology. Endocrinology, we have been giving importance, especially the bone metabolism, your Paget's disease, your hyperparathyroidism and all those things. Again, we had stock questions coming from that. As always, infectious diseases does have its importance that is there. We didn't have the hardcore the rare infectious diseases. We had HIV and tuberculosis only that was asked. And yes, they the management part, when they said maybe they had a pregnant lady who delivered, and what was the advice to be given to the child. That she had a high CD. The viral load was higher than 1,000. That was one question, I think, which had a little application, which would be saying, because I think the viral load anything above 1,000, we would give 2 antiretroviral therapy, and it has to be prolonged for a little more duration than the normal. Maybe that question had a little implication. Same what was the tuberculosis question, where they had said about rifampicin resistance is there, and what is the treatment regimen. So it is little to be understood that rifampicin resistance is considered as MDR, and the treatment would be MDR, because the rest option had isoniazid there. So little application questions in infectious diseases were asked. So infectious disease, cardiology with arrhythmia, endocrine, and ABG part of it. I think that were the primary questions that came up, and that pattern is continuing.
So, yes, basically ECG and ABG where students mostly struggle, and it's confusing to the students.
So yeah, but the questions this time were not confusing. Questions were very clear. I think they asked calculate ANA and gap. It's something very simple. You just have a number there, just calculate, and you've written high ANA and gap. The answer is there. So it was not so difficult there. And instead of diagnosing atrial fibrillation based on an image, they themselves have given it as atrial fibrillation, irregular pulse. So what is the drug? And if you ask a drug for chronic management, and if 3 of the options are given as intravenous and 1 is oral, so it's a straight choice there. So possibly little like that. So topics were the important ones. However, in the important topics also, possibly they tried to make it easy.
Okay, sir. So, Dr. Anshuman, was there any scoring area in your subject that well-prepared students could crack easily? Like that usually we study for the exam.
Everything is scoring, See, this is where usually what happens nowadays, the trend is like, students have started shifting towards, we already are teaching very restricted content. And out of that restricted content also, now students want extremely quick revision kind of content. That's a problem with this approach is that when you go into too much of a short content, you are obviously not getting everything that is needed. So students who would have gone through the entire comprehensive content, for them, everything was scoring. You're looking into short form of content and then expecting scoring. Obviously, there were very few areas which were like easy repeats, very much. So maybe endocrine surgery was one area. GIT, there are some standard questions. So that was in 3 areas. So that. Otherwise, but
Okay. So, was there the same, like any typical areas in obs gynae that usually is prepared by students and that directly came into the exams?
Yeah, the same way. Actually, if it is a well prepared student who's been reading for maybe a year gap and something he's reading, he would definitely have read all the high topics, the concept. I'm sure they would have read. So, even 20, more than 20 also, they could have got correct in OBG. And for those who have just finished internship, just want to give a try and dig it, if they have worked in their internship or they read their textbooks and they have prepared a bit also, they'll definitely score more than 15 out of this. If somebody who's not prepared also just gone and given an exam, they also could at least get 10. It was not so difficult actually.
Okay. So, was there the same scenario with the pathology?
No, I would not say there was something special that would have helped them score. The paper was spread out in pathology. There were direct image based questions also, there were clinical questions also, but definitely molecular basis of neoplasia, the molecular pathogenesis of neoplasia, the CD markers definitely plays an important role for scoring better marks, I can say.
So, these usually asked
Oh,
the NEET, but
these are usually asked in INI-CET, but then this year FMG also they witnessed the same type of questions. Although these questions were a little less in this NEET PG exam. But definitely students knowing the molecular pathogenesis of neoplasia, definitely they will help them score better anywhere.
so as we are done with like the most scoring areas, so were there any topics which were tricky for them, sir?
This time's paper, I don't think so. There is anything very tricky. Only maybe one or two options, maybe a little this side, that side. Maybe with very close by options were there, but not in many questions.
Ruling out the options were easy.
Not difficult at all. Not difficult at all. Maybe if you ask rate control as a question, and then you have an option of two rate control drugs and two rhythm control drugs. So, you have to choose from two options easy. So, it was not that it would be very difficult to be made out there. So, I think it was not that difficult to rule out, provided you have a, common sense there. And since it's a standard question which have been asked, so since the diagnosis were already there, so maybe it would not be difficult to, narrow down to those two questions. However, maybe like for acromegaly case, there were two options. One was, I think, the growth hormone suppression with glucose with the IGF suppression with glucose. Answer was a GS suppression with glucose. Maybe if they would not have read it so very clearly, they might get confused between these two options and then maybe they will lose it. But otherwise, if they have read it well, the option was pretty clear.
Okay. So were there any trap zones in surgery basic?
yeah, there were 2, 3 areas where they asked questions which actually needed in-depth kind of study. For example, there was a question on escharotomy. So they did not specifically mention escharotomy. So we have been teaching conventionally that, for full thickness circumferential bronchial escharotomies is what they did was they gave an image. It was a mannequin which was there. They were with blasters around the hand, the hood. So it was depictive of a circumferential burn, and they framed the question like that. So they did not directly tell you that it was a scrutiny. They wanted you to they expected you to answer based on that. So unless and until somebody has read it properly, that why do we do a scrutiny? What is the benefit? That there is a tourniquet effect that happens. We're trying to release the vessels from that so that the vessels are not compressed. We can't get vasopressor fluids. It needed an in-depth kind of study. So that's what I'm saying. Trap zones are for those students who are reading too short form of very comprehensively. There are no trap zones.
So like earlier it was books, then it came to
Yeah, you're basically reducing the content.
yes, sir.
Everything
Usually,
life is of some movie past. Same is happening with the PG content also. The students want extremely short form of content, and that is not working because the examiners are going the other way around. Nowadays they don't really. And I feel that somehow it's a thing that whatever the thing is being taught, they are keeping a tab of what is being taught around. So they basically try to focus on those areas which are not easily solvable by the short form of content. So otherwise everything is
As you said, books, then from books to comprehensive videos, then quick revision. Now there is something called rapid revision also. So everything gets shortened with time. So were there any tricky or trap zones with OBS kind, ma'am?
The same thing. If you knew the concept, as we told from beginning, no, the concept is the key here. If you knew the concept, there was no tricky zones. They had asked on day 21 of a normal cycle, what are the hormones? Like this, they've not asked you. So if you knew the menstrual cycle fully, you will definitely answer this question. The same way, if you knew the concept, it was easy to get. They gave the hormone levels also, and they wanted you to diagnose things. Everything was same. Maybe you have learned it as a short form. Now they give you a different options. In the options they tricked you. Like as told, two options in the two they had to choose. That was only the tricky. But if you knew the concept, I'm sure that was not tricky for anyone actually. But as I told, who had prepared less or just came to see how the exam preparation, how we should prepare, for them it might be tricky. But for those who have prepared the concept, definitely it was not at all tricky.
So were there any the same trap zones for pathology?
No, I would agree with everyone that if your concepts were clear, you could have answered all the pathology questions. They were straightforward from TYTs, from your textbooks, straightforward question. Of course, there were some questions where you had to rule out options, but then those options were only two options. So, as such, there were no hardly any trap zone in pathology.
So as you all are faculty at DigiNerve, so there were any directly or indirectly discussed topics or the question that you must have discussed came directly into the exam, sir. We'll start with you.
I think that's what most of the topics were the commonly discussed ones itself. Medicine has to be medicine, whether we teach it or somebody else teaches it. It's there in the book, it is there in the book. The drug which is used for as treatment has to be the same drug. So practically all questions had to be discussed, had been, emphasized. And you can say that possibly every question which was there in the paper was discussed sometime.
So I believe same has happened with surgery.
Yeah, actually, I have a very different perspective on students. When you ask them this question that the होता क्या है again, paper is not directly the straight application part comes in student के लिए कि कि कुछ और पूछ लिया पढ़ने तो आएगा नहीं. This is the first thing that comes out of their mouth. But as the dust settles, when they finally have an understanding, everything is there in them. You get everything from the note. The point is that कोई जादू मंत्र नहीं है ना यार कि exactly what is question they as you exactly. So what's the point of having an exam? Ki everything is being taught. His concepts are there. The notes have everything. Even in my discussion session that I've shared direct the notes what I've taught exactly was it is I've shared. But the point is you need to have that understanding to apply those notes. You can't have exact questions being discussed from the notes. The content is all the same. What else is there?
So I believe the same was with OBS kind.
Yeah.
Like you've taught everything and
Yeah, actually, we have done our full comprehensive quick revision, everything. And even we have told when we are discussing in our digital platform also, we have told this is important, this is important, this is a tendency to get your MCQ. When we tell that and we give a concept, then in any way they can ask you a question. It will not be the same question. Even in the records that we have given a photos, what we have taught in our digital platform. All those things are told because maybe we have not told exactly the same question, but the concept is given so that you will get to your answers. Nobody can give the same question, but it is only the concept which you should know.
so ma'am, was there similar situation with pathology?
Yes, we had taught everything. The concepts were the same, the subject remains the same, questions can be asked in any format. Hereditary spherocytosis, I had also asked the same question that came in the exam. That was there in one of my lectures of hereditary spherocytosis. The same question was there. Maybe age was different, maybe sex was different, but the question remained the same. Direct question though you cannot ask him. Like the same question cannot be asked by us. But घुमा फिरा के question तो वही पूछे गए हैं and we have taught everything.
So there must be some student feedbacks that you received and that made you think, okay, they remembered you from the topic that you have taught in your video lectures from DigiNerve.
No, I think the student feedback, whatever I have spoken, everybody is little, maybe when the questions are simpler, more the general students just generally get disheartened because the markings becomes very close. The single mark, you'll have a lot of blanks, yes, so collated there. So if you see, when whomever I've asked, the first thing, most important feedback got is that it was simple. So we are worried how it is going to be. Yes, the ECG portions, I think since we had emphasized pretty well
Yes.
through our lectures as well as through the various other sections that we did, I think that they definitely remembered. So that obviously, I think it's a common thing, especially when you have stressed on so much, that will be remembered. But I think this time the predominant feedback is not related to what question they remembered. It's about what's going to happen when the
Happening next.
months are going to come out.
So was there any like student that you talked to, sir, which they remember that topic from your video lectures?
Sai lectures have been very comprehensive kind of thing, you know. So I've been also given the feedback told to tone down the content. But on the contrary, the students have been more happy with the fact because it was covered. So obviously, those students who went through the entire contents were able to answer those questions, and that was what the feedback was. Ki, sir, exactly nahi pucha. It was there in the notes, but we could only do it if we applied. So that was what it. Easy to type there, but that there is no there's to the off with that. That apprehension is there in the students that what is going to happen. So that is a generic thing that is going to come out of this examination.
Yes. So, like you must have talked to various students also, ma'am. So,
Yeah, actually, a few of the interns they came back and they told, post exam, they told, ma'am, so many images that we had seen, whatever you had told, same images have come in the exam. Same images came, though they did not know the stem that they could not diagnose, but with the image they could diagnose. That was one feedback. Other than it, that's as I told, everybody told it was a easy paper. Because they were just intern passed out, they were overwhelmed. They gave it very well. Everybody wants a gap of 1 year or something. That is what is trending now. Everybody takes a gap of 1 year and then study and all. So because they were just intern pass, so they were very happy with the fact that they could do so.
they could do right.
Maybe because it was delayed also, they couldn't do.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
So, as you said, ma'am, hereditary spherocytosis you told,
Yeah.
like you taught in your lectures. So, were there any other topics also which student told that they remember that from your videos?
Yes, definitely there were other lectures, but I would say those questions were usually asked, like the translocation that they had asked for, they had given an image of faggot cells and they had asked for the translocation. That was a straightforward question. Then one other topic was that CLL ka CD markers. We had emphasized on the CLL ka CD markers and basically on the translocations of all the other lymphomas and the other malignancies also. So definitely they were a direct, you can say a direct question from the lectures that I had taken.
So, based on this year examination and previous year trend, so can we come for the like general cutoffs that you could expect, sir?
For getting a good score,
Yes, sir. Like, what do you think of the general cutoffs could look like this year? Because as the exams were,
on general, if at all I have to say, I think they should, I mean, to get a rank, a reasonably good rank, that would be within maybe 10,000 rank, I think they should get at least 150 to 152 correct.
so because they,
Because I think
yes,
there will be a lot of clustering. So even the highest mark is maybe very high, but the clustering will happen between maybe 170 odds. Will have a big cluster. So you do require to get a lot of correct answers.
correct,
Obviously, negative should be less, but correct should be definitely
definitely.
above 152.
So, what do you have to say about it?
It should be at least above 150, and that
Hmm.
here specifically because they were easy questions. Which, see, getting tough questions wrong never hurts.
Yes, sir.
Getting the easy ones hurts because in general, most of the students have got it right.
Yes.
For the final calculation, they nikal ke aata, these are the ones who matter. Students, when they study, they are really behind those tough, controversial questions. Ki, is faculty ne kuch aur kiya, is book mein na kuch kiya. On the contrary, the time should be spent on getting those areas correct, which are very easy to conquer, rather than going into tougher area. And that is what this exam reinforced.
Yes, sir.
Controversial areas should be dealt last. You should be able to get those areas correct first, which are the easy scoring ones. And so, yeah, 150 at least plus will need. And that too would be like a tough task.
Yes, sir. So, ma'am, as we all are saying, there will be clustering for the ranks, and at a single mark, I guess there will be many students which will be
Yeah, I think
they have
that
to
makes sense.
compete. So, can we come for the like general cutoff this year, looking at the level of examination?
So, in my opinion, I think whatever was the last year's score, maybe 20, 30 more than that is definitely required to get a good score. Whatever was the cutoff, like maybe last year, I think somewhere around 270 to 80 was the cutoff. So they should at least have 350, I think. From OBG itself, they should not get any question wrong as such. So taking the same from all the subjects, I think they should definitely get more than 350 or something. Below that, they will not be getting a good rank.
So, ma'am, as we say, like when the level of exam is a little on the easier side,
Easier side.
so there is fight for the rank.
Yes, there is fight for a rank, and even with a single mark, your rank can go either 1000 rank up or 1000 rank down. I would say the toppers, at least the first 100 toppers, they'll get more than 700 marks. That's what I think so.
So, like when the exam is like that, so
Easier.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So scoring high would be easy.
oh, wow. So,
Yeah, I also feel it is not about the high score or the middle score. The average one is going to get affected a lot.
yes.
Because when in the average, even with 1 mark as mango, it is going to jump a lot. I mean, the ranking would be difficult for them. With the same marks, many students would be there, is what I think.
Yes, ma'am. Like on a single mark, there will be
Yeah,
like
there'll be lot.
hundreds of students will be there. So, how should student interpret their performance if their score is borderline? Like from the recalls that you have all recorded, or like how should they interpret?
So that's what when we are saying as faculty, we see that these questions are all easy and not at all tough. But maybe when the student is answering, obviously he's answering all the subjects together. There could be some areas where they might feel it was little tough. But when we say when the total number of questions are on the easier side, so they have more time for each question. So they would have gone through the options again and again and possibly marked the right one. So they should be prepared that we will have clustering of ranks.
Yes.
That is going to be there. And yes, this time's paper has been that way. So we will have to wait and look into what is the final actual question which is going to come. Are there any questions going to be discounted at some time? And based on that, the scoring might be a little different there. But I think they should be prepared for clustering of ranks in a huge way. Anything between maybe 160 plus to 170, you have a huge cluster of ranks which are going to come. They should be prepared for it. It does not mean that their performance would have been bad, but it is the trend of this year
Yes, sir.
in that road.
What should students interpret their performance if their score is borderline? So,
See, to be very frank, if you are actually falling in the borderline, and I'll give you a very honest opinion about
yes, sir.
take a week's break, फिर से कूद पड़ो पढ़ने के. This is what should be. Because it's so unpredictable, because you cannot wait for an entire month and you're in, suddenly prepare for the upcoming November INI-CET. You take a break, 7 days, 10 days, whatever suits you. And after that, if you are feeling that you're in the borderline, that you should consider that you might have to be again in the same loop. So you should start preparing. If you are lucky enough, you cross the threshold, it is good enough. But you shouldn't get that pinch later on that, I didn't prepare, I had the time to prepare.
Yes, sir.
So take a break for 7 days and start preparing at least for the November INI-CET. Maybe not the long run for NEET PG Preparation, but at least for November INI-CET, you should be in the race rather than just immediately dropping out of the race.
So, as we all are discussing, ma'am, there are many students, like many faculties, who are recording the recall sessions and Diginerv also and other platforms also. So, by after looking into that, student might consider that yes, I have a borderline score, or I could have scored well. So, what should they consider as in?
Yeah, actually, by now they'll be knowing their score, what they've answered. Everybody is giving answer. All the subjects answers are out, so they'll definitely know their score for sure. With that, it depends on their choice. What exactly they want? If they want a clinical branch or a final year subject branch, third year subject, what they want anatomy. It depends on them. And also, are they ready to sacrifice their another year for studying? It depends on them basically. There is no fault. Okay, if somebody is wanting anatomy on, if with their score, maybe they are getting a, it is up to their choice. But if you want any clinical subject, or if you are aiming high and you got a borderline, not to be disheartened,
But you may consider another year as a tool. But yeah, you have to prepare because this was comparatively easy. I'm sure everybody has answered well. And I think very few or those who just cleared or just want to give a try will only come in borderline.
Okay, ma'am. So, how should student interpret their performance, ma'am?
Well, the answers are out. You must be knowing your scores, at least a tentative score. Definitely, there will be a clustering of the middle order batsmen, I would say. Toppers to nikal jayenge, they would be there. But middle order batsmen, there would be a lot of clustering, lot of crowding, so you'll have to fight for your rank. Depends on you what you want. Do you want to sacrifice? As Dr. Roshni said, if you want to sacrifice another year, please don't lose hope. Start preparing, and this time, just focus on the concepts. Don't focus only on PYTs, only on your notes, no shortcuts. Focus on your concepts. That's it.
So, as Dr. Archith also said, like, they weren't any lengthy questions, so everyone got time to read the questions again and again. So, as we look at the past trends, there were very lengthy questions that were asked, and luckily this time there were only two options that we have to rule out. So, according to that, it student get time for the question. So, comparatively, it was easier than previous years, I believe.
That is a double-edged sword.
Yes,
Since
sir.
when you have more time, you generally, look into it again and again, and there is a little tendency to mark wrong also. That can
Yes, sir.
happen. It's not a very good trend, but this time that might have happened.
Yes, I had conversation with one of my friend also. She said the same that she got time and then she again get back to those questions. She marked it wrong. So that happened. When we have time, we tend to look at that again and again.
Overthink.
Overthinking, yes, ma'am. Those 3 hours, like 3.5 hours, matters a lot during your mental status matters. So, should student expect normalization or surprise jumps in the rank like last year? Last year there was a huge jump among the ranks and marks. So, will it happen again this year?
Last year's trend of normalization was quite different from what maybe happened around 2016. I think we had exams going on for a week. We had NEET went for a week.
Yes, sir.
And it's a big week of exams which happened. And there, when the normalization happened, people did not have that much of a problem, though we had almost around 6 papers there. But last year's, whatever said and done, I've seen both the papers. We did feel that what came out as a rank last time, maybe a higher rank, we were expecting the opposite. So the normalization which happened last time was a little different from what actually
We used to
we
consider normal.
consider as normalized. But this time that problem is not there. It's going to be one paper. So the problem of normalization is not going to happen.
So, every year definition of normalcy or that has been changing. So, earlier, like last year, it was due to the exam that was in two shifts. But this year, the level of exam, like moderate to easy, that's where normalization would be different. So, what would you expect as surprise jumps, or it will be similar, Dr. Harshman?
No, they wouldn't be surprised, Jamsi. Only the cutoff obviously is going to go up.
Yes, sir. Definitely.
The toppers will be scoring astonishingly high marks.
Yeah.
That is going to happen. Obviously, the people who is in the middle range, who have crossed the threshold and are somewhere in the selection range, for them, it's going to be difficult this year to maybe get a branch of their choice because that one question will hurt them really a lot.
Yes, sir.
That's what happens with easy papers every time. So this is what is one thing that is going to come out of this paper. And that probably is the learning thing for the students who are giving the next examinations that, we need to focus specifically on getting more questions simple when right rather than going into
Yes, sir. Like rather than to study the rare ones, we should focus on mainly which is usually ours. So what's your advice to the students who are unsure how they perform, Dr. Roshni?
I think by now everybody is sure since they know the answers, they know the questions, how they've answered. All everybody is. I mean, with this previously maybe used to say they don't know the answers, things like that. They were unsure. Now they are sure what they've scored, what they've got, everything. What they are more worried about is like maybe last year for the same score they got a better rank. So this year you will be with the same score you will be not getting such a better rank. Your score should be comparatively high. That is what is expected this time, I think.
So same that I would like to ask you. So students who are unsure how they performed, what is that you want to tell them? Because of course there will be students who would be disheartened or the way they prepared for the examination that didn't turn out well for them. So what do you want to say to them?
I would say the same thing. Don't lose heart. There's still hope. Work hard. I'm sure next year you'll come out with flying colors.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So next question is also specifically for you. Like pathologists often play a behind the scene role. Yeah. That's what pathologists are considered behind the curtain always. So what opportunities can such student explore if PG didn't go well this time?
See, I would say pathology is not a bad branch to take. In fact, pathology is the backbone of medicine. If you don't know pathology, you cannot study medicine. So, pathology is a very good branch. Even if you don't want pathology, pathology, I would say it's a mix of clinical and paraclinical. You're always in touch with the clinics, and you are considered a paraclinical branch. So, if you are not getting any clinical branch, pathology is definitely a good branch. And if you consider other paraclinical branch, you can definitely go for them. There are a lot of options in other fields also.
Can I also say, I think nowadays the trend is moving more towards pathology and things like that because more of work-life balance they have. So, and they're also somewhere related to clinical things.
Yeah.
So, the trend, pathology is not going. So, the later ranks are not getting pathology. Even the higher ranks also are preferring pathology. So it was spinning what up behind the scene.
So, it's definitely a mix of clinical and paraclinical.
So, look at many places, the second highest seat go to the clinical branch. Pathology has the highest number of cells. The highest. In many places, it's much more than many clinical subjects. And pathology, there are so many subspecialties coming, be it neuropathology or nephropathology or something. It is the future thing. It is not behind the scenes. It is going to be there. It's a very good branch. We say pathologists will have the 9 to 5 job. No, they are the ones who sit till midnight and diagnose disease. So pathology definitely, and maybe the community medicine with your little with your social part of that part is also going to be built, and clinical microbiology with infectious disease coming up. But a lot of pre-para subjects which are definitely going to be having good maybe as work-life balance as well as monetarily also. Those branches are going to be better than many clinical subjects.
So what do you want to say, Dr. Anshuman? Like today, considering that you all are from the departments which students usually want to pursue, but if the score is less, can they consider a paraclinical or preclinical subject?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I always, tell my students, never going with this one branch in the mind. Situations don't always pan out how you want them to be. Leave aside the motivational videos and everything what people talk, just have plan A, don't think for yes. That's not how life works originally. You have to have a plan B in your mind, because if you've attempted NEET PG maybe twice or thrice and you're stuck in the area wherein you're not getting the rank that you want, you just cannot keep repeating and giving the exam again and again. You have to make a choice and you move on with the choice because you don't know how the life fans out. Maybe that is something that you might end up liking. So obviously, when you are not able to get a rank, which is maybe clinical branch, you should always explore these options as well. And there is nothing wrong with this option. When you're young, you have some kind of different construct about ideas, that this is what is more glorious, this is what gives you more respect. It's something like
The peer pressure, right?
yeah, that's not even a peer pressure. It's your own construct in your mind that you have. It's not true. It's just a fictional construct that you have. When you actually come to face the reality, you realize everything is good. If you're earning good amount of money, everything.
Yes, sir, everything is. I've seen students like a few students who enter PG, but then they again give NEET PG exam because they cannot manage their life and the work, especially in medicine and surgery.
Dropouts that happen between branches like surgery or people pick it up because they are attracted to it without knowing actually what kind of workload is required. So the surgical branches specifically, and even to a certain extent medicine also, these are physically overwhelming branches.
Yes.
You are not accustomed to working 15, 16, 17 hours in a day. When you're suddenly thrown into a situation like this, either you're very strong-willed and determined and you just push through. If you're not, if you're accustomed to a very relaxed kind of a lifestyle, there are high chances that you'll drop out from the branch. So therefore, it is very important for the students, especially in their internship, to get acquainted with what kind of branch it is, what kind of work is needed.
Yes, sir.
So you should not unnecessarily keep repeating the examinations. You don't know what you're actually trying to
What
get.
you really want.
Get good ideas, have 3, 4 options in the mind, and then move ahead.
Because I believe life after that depends on it. Your life totally depends. It's not just about the 3 years that you're going to study in a college. So, what's your message to the repeaters or those taking a drop? Is it worth one more try, sir?
So that's what it depends upon how many times have you attempted. Maybe 2 or 3 maybe that would be the maximum. By that time, I think you should be clear that if you are not getting this, there is always something there. And I think you should be, I mean, maybe 3 attempts may be the maximum. You can. There are, I'm not saying about, you're doing an MD or an MS or something like that. There are other options that are available. DNB is a good option. Yes. There are centers where there is good clinical exposure. That's what finally is important. It's the number of patients that you're seeing, the number of variety of cases that you're seeing, the number of surgeries that you can get. There are many DNB centers where you have, newer advances which are much better than not present on the local hospitals. So I think that option you should always keep. There is certain, a taboo in the mind, maybe DNB, all those things. In the long run, it does not count.
Yes.
It's you and your practice. How well you're trained, how much of experience you got in those 3 years, that's what is going to mind. So you can always think of DNB, maybe specialties. Also, maybe if you're not getting medicine, something related to medicine, pulmonology, or some fields which are closer to medicine, you could try. Maybe you can do some specialization there. You can try critical care, you can try emergency medicine.
Yes, sir.
There are some branches where you can come close to that. You should keep that open, especially after a second try. Maybe you should think of these things. I do agree that yes, you have a passion towards being a surgeon or a physician or a gynecologist or a pediatrician. That's all important. But yes, if it is not going in that way, try to look for something close to that. So that's always that's what should be in your mind. Number of years would go, you would not want to practice maybe, we have a lifespan there. You would want to get settled quickly. It's not just the branch. And again, remember, medicine is not an end branch.
Yes, sir.
You have to do something after that. Whereas if you see obstetrics and gynecology, maybe an ENT, maybe an ophthalm, you can do some fellowships and maybe you can settle earlier, maybe.
Yes, sir.
So you should think of such things. Do not keep in the dogma that yes, medicine, medicine, and only medicine. Look for other options. Keep your options open. And if you're getting a good seat in a good center, please take the other ones. You will do well. You will do well.
It just depends on how how good you are in the clinical practice, the number of patients you're seeing, as you said.
Finally, it's what you practice
No.
after you do your degrees. That is what it matters. So even if you have done it from some center, maybe a DNB degree, you would be flourishing in practice much better than the people who are there from central institutes.
Yes, sir, that's what I have experienced. Because I believe DNB has to work harder than the MDMS. That what I saw.
At least from passing the exam perspective, that
Yes, sir.
more Asarasan.
So as sir said, it's not just MDMS or DNB. So can they consider other things as well? Because I believe it's not the end of the life that okay, this is the only thing.
And to what Sarah said, what rest of the discussion is same on this side, before you take a drop, you have to basically figure out what went wrong. It's not just about other options that you explore what you're capable of doing and what went wrong. You have to necessarily approach the situation. If you figure out that you've not studied at all, that means you were not prepared. You just cannot be like, okay, this is what my fate is. That is what you have to decide. And that only the student knows. If you're prepared hard, if you feel you've read all the 19 subjects, you've read the notes, you're solved the question, and still you're getting a bad rank continuously for 2 or 3 years, that is when you take a call, okay, fine, I need to pick up whatever I'm taking. Whatever best I can. But if you feel you're not read at all and you have that thinking, I can still read properly, I still read with an orientation, that is when you decide to continue. Rather than just having a blind idea about the fact, okay, that is my end point. No. Sit down, calm down, and relax and understand what is going wrong. If you figure out, okay, fine, I did not read only, let me give at least 6 months. See, we are already there, we are in August. We are expecting the next need to happen March, April, maybe. That's
Yes,
what
sir.
we're expecting.
Yes, sir.
So there's just time of 6, 7 months, 7 months, 4 years. If you're not working in a job and Indian financially, support yourself for the next 7 months. You should give a try. If you're not already done with it, if you have the strength enough, you should.
So, as said, Dr. Roshni, if someone is practicing side by side and they want, like, they're doing their junior residency and they want to study, and they again have to take a drop. So, what do you want to suggest them?
Okay, so you mean to say they're working as a junior resident, they've got a PG somewhere?
No, ma'am. The non-acad JR.
Okay, so they've not got a seat and they want to sit work. So see, it is basically you have to decide Okay, there are some students who are very good when it comes to one single subject when they can read. So one single subject when you're reading, you're very good. Maybe when you read 3, 4 subjects, you forget what you have read. There are all kind of students, not that okay, I'm reading, I'm not remembering. So you have to know what your exactly is. Okay, if you can read all the 19 and remember and give a good rank, and sure you will get a, I mean, if you work hard, you will get, then definitely give a try. But if you know yourself that yes, if I read 19, I'm getting confused and not able to focus, then maybe you can try for some other exams like DNB. Or yes, you know that with all the trial you're not getting, then change your option what you want to select in your exams.
Okay. So, what do you want to give any message to them, ma'am, who are taking drop, or after like they have already taken 2, 3 drops? So
I would
it's
say they should ask themselves a question. Have I given my best? Can I do better? Only then they should take a drop. If they've done their best, उससे ज़्यादा नहीं कर सकते, as everybody suggested, look for other option. Maybe settle down for a paraclinical branch, maybe look for other options. But just ask yourself, is it worth trying? They have to answer this. It has to be individualized. We cannot generalize कि आप drop करो या नहीं करो. Have I given my best? If not, then definitely you should try once more.
So, one final message for our future doctors, something to keep them grounded, hopeful, and focused in the coming weeks. As a result, is most probably will be announced by 3rd of September. So, what do you want to tell them? Because it's a 1 month, and of course, they will be overthinking. They will be uh, looking at the exams or the answers again and again, and considering their marks from various platforms. So, what do you want to tell them, sir?
So whatever it is, whatever they have performed is over. The exam is over. The marks are sealed there. So inside themselves, they know what they are going to get. So they know, truly they know where they are. You know what, there is a possibility of getting it or not possibility of getting it. So if you're very sure that it's the chances of getting this time is less, please start preparing as soon as possible. The exams are, it's 6 months you're saying, okay, by closing your eyes and opening that 6 months would be there. Yes. So if you're quite sure that your performance is not up to the mark and you're going to give one more attempt, start preparing immediately. Do not waste time. For the others who are quite sure that they're going to get it, I think you should start seeing, what is the branch? Are you sure the branch is going to be there? I mean, that's what you want it really. Possibly you could go to the wards, you could work with, you could shadow somebody and see whether that's the actual branch that you want, because still there is a time there. So you can change the branch. So if you're sure that you're going to get through that, make sure the subject that you're going to take is clear, the place where you want to do it.
Yes.
That is also you can narrow down. You can discuss with your seniors, you discuss with your parents or colleagues or mentors and finalize. So that's what you can think of. And I think that's the two options that we have at present. And yes, we may have some changes that's going to come once the results are going to be. We may have some clustering happening. And that's when those people really have to choose between these two options.
So, sir, what do you want to suggest them? What advice you want to give them?
Yeah, so that remains the same pretty much. That if see basically somebody who has not fared well, they will be knowing it that they have not fared well. So take a break and get back to studying as soon as possible if you can. And one thing I'll just add to it, that those who have already given a sufficient number of attempts, they should also not feel bad about the fact, that they will not be able to do a post-graduation. There are better options like UPSC, CMS, counters in the armed forces. These are
AFM or CFI,
they are not bad or second grade options. So you should explore those options as well rather than just blindly hunting for a PGC. Don't do that. Those options are also good. They are comforting options. They give you a good lifestyle.
Yes.
Everything is there. It's just that we have a taboo in our mind, that these are not the ones that are respected. Never chase respect. That comes on its own. If you chase respect, you'll fall apart somewhere or the other. You have essential crisis there.
It cannot be demanded and it can be earned. Yes, sir.
And other than the PG students also who are not there in the race, those who are upcoming, the pre-final and final students, what they need to also understand to this paper is that you need to start early. Start early in the sense, pick your subjects. Like at least if you are in the pre-final or final year, get done with the majors. Do your medicine, surgery, OBGYN, PEDS. And when you're doing them, do it in an integrated manner. Bring along the path, bring on the pharma. You have to keep reading those subjects again. It's not like you've done with your patho and pharma in the second prof and then you suddenly pick it up in the internship. That is all done. That's wiped out. You cannot remember that again. And that is what happens wrong that goes to the students. When you're trying to take in knowledge as a bolus, will obviously have something that you're going to leak out all the knowledge.
Yes, sir.
So always try to gain knowledge in a gradual form. So that is what we need to start early in internship. Like we used to have in the earlier days, we used to have tuitions for the students, like individual one-to-one kind of tuitions. That is what is better for them, have individual interaction with teacher. And that is what goes a long way. Rather than suddenly if you sit down one day and decide, okay, in 6 months I'll finish the course. That will not happen. You're dealing with clinical subjects. You can't just mug up everything.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So as sir said, ma'am, like one can look out for other options as well, because usually there is a taboo right from the first year. When they enter the MBBS, they are given that from the seniors itself. Okay, you have to study from this platform, and it is good for PG preparation. And it will start from the first year itself. What do you want to say to them?
See, there is nothing like that. If you're reading your textbooks, if you know your concepts, definitely you will do well. It is not that only for PG I'll prepare, NEET PG I'll prepare, then I'll forget everything. It cannot happen like that. You should know your concepts. You should read your textbooks. From day one, you should start. I'm not telling all medicos are 9 to 9, just studying, studying, studying. No, they have their life also. It is not like that. You read in a correct whichever time it is compatible for you, you read during that time. And also, it is not everything. Getting your NEET PG good rank is not everything at all. Once you go to your PG, there is much more struggle. Okay, even before that, there is a struggle. Maybe they would have told you 10th is final, then 12th is final, then get a UGC to be final, then you get a PG seat. Not at all final. There are much more things that is happening. This is just a part of your journey. That's all. Never be carried away with that, okay, I'm getting a good seat, I'm all good. No, be grounded. And even if you're not getting also, it is not at all the final. There are lot number of options. You just have to get to know yourself, what you want. That is what is the prime important.
So, ma'am, what will be your final message for our future residents?
So I would like to say ki you have not achieved everything after achieving a PG seat. Okay, life will be more challenging after this. Even if you have completed your PG, again there would be so many challenges. So just maintain your calm, keep doing your work, keep working honestly, keep studying, because studies will never end. So you just have to keep on working.
So thank you, ma'am. So, sir, one last message you want to give to the students who are considering medicine for their residency.
Medicine for the residents.
So, like, what should they expect if they want to pursue medicine?
So if you want to pursue medicine, okay, first of all, be sure that you want to pursue medicine. Do not have doubts in your mind. And yes, medicine is a branch which has wide variety of specialties, subspecialties, super specialties. So there is no end to medicine. And possibly of all the fields, you could just finish your MD and then possibly go to some remote place and do practice. You could have a lot of solace with that too. So medicine is a wonderful field. So you're welcome for taking it.
So, what's your message for surgery if student wants to pursue surgery in their residency?
Okay. So, see, about surgery, there is a lot of misconception which is there. Usually, when students, after even getting a NEET PGC, how do they select a college from surgery? Usually, they use a term which is very cutting kitni hai wahan pe. It's what cutting which work. And this is the very wrong way of selecting
Mhm.
college. You need to understand. So, my head of the department, Mathu, is what they say. A surgeon is a good physician first and then a surgeon.
Then a surgeon.
It's very important to know when not to operate than when you operate. To learn to operate is not a big deal. A lot of people, regular technician who stand next to the nose to operate, if he is there for 10, 50 cases, he'll understand what to do.
Yes.
But to have that clinical judgment as to when to go in and operate, that is very important. So protocol-based learning comes into the picture. So when you're taking surgery as a branch, you need to understand not only is it physically overwhelming, you also have to be well read for that match. So if you're ready to give in that kind of a commitment, obviously all the perks are there. You earn good amount of money, that all is fine. But before that, you need to have that kind of commitment, that kind of, letting go kind of okay, you might not have a good lifestyle initially. You'll be struggling, a lot of years will be wasted going into that kind of learning. If you're ready to give that kind of sacrifice, it's a wonderful branch. And one more thing, by the time you're done with surgery, there's a lot of fear also which goes away because you'll learn those kind of life-saving skills also. So you get that kind of confidence when you do surgical branches. Not also the surgical, even with medicine, you get that kind of confidence. So yeah, it's a wonderful branch, but it needs that kind of sacrifice. That is true.
So, what would you want to say to the students who are considering MAM Obs Gynae as their future?
Okay, the obs gynae is a really wonderful field. But for this, you should be mentally and physically very strong. Okay. First of all, you should choose this subject by choice. Okay. You should make sure that, yes, I want this. You should decide it during your internship only, because I'm pretty sure you've all ran a lot in your labor room postings, had a long days, like maybe 36, 48 hours of duty. That's why you should be both physically and mentally really strong, because not just one life, two lives are in your hand at a time. Okay. So if you are ready to do that, then definitely Obs and is really a wonderful subject.
So, ma'am, if one want to consider pathology, so that what I just know that it's not just the pathology, but you have to study medicine along with pathology.
Yes,
So why do you want to?
you need to study medicine along with pathology, but then please remember, pathology is the backbone of medicine. You cannot become a good doctor unless and until you know pathology. And coming into PG, taking a pathology branch, definitely it's a very good branch. We've already discussed. You are in touch with your clinical subjects, you are in touch with the clinics, you are in touch with the patients also many times. And plus, you have a work life balance also. But it is not a simple 9 to 5 hospital job that you come at 9 o'clock, reporting here, leave at 5. You might be called at night to report a frozen section also. You might be doing some night duties also, FNACs also sometimes. So I guess it is a very good branch if you want a mix of your clinical and you want to have a good work-life balance also.
Thank you to all our panelists for their invaluable guidance and their insights. And remember, students, it is not the end of the journey. This exam doesn't mark the end. Whether you are calculating your scores, reevaluating your paths, stay focused and stay grounded. We are here with you, for you at every step. Stay tuned with Diginer for targeted preparation, motivation at every step. All the best for your future endeavors.